Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Athletic Hockey Show. It's Hailey, Salvian, and Sean Gentille here with you for the Thursday edition of the show. We've got Jesse Granger joining us today to discuss the Vegas Golden Knights and what sounds like an impending Carter Hart signing. Later, our pal Arpon Basu will join us to break down the Montreal Canadiens' 3-1 start to the season and a handful of extensions signed in La Belle Provence. Before all that, I want to remind you that we are on YouTube now. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. It's youtube.com/at the Athletic Hockey Show and check out our Discord as well. All right. Our long-winded intro's over. Let's bring in my co-host, Sean Gentille, who is getting himself ready for the first power rankings of the season. That's right. Thursday. Here we go. We're back.
Why'd you have to bring it up? Everything was, I was having a nice little morning. Coffee hit well. Now I have to be reminded that I'm going to spend my entire evening staring at a computer and talking to Dom. It's as rough as it gets. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, at least it's only 11 games on the schedule. I feel like sometimes it's 14 on a Thursday night.
Yeah, just 11. Great.
Only
cool,
11 games tonight in the NHL. A couple of big highlights. Panthers Devils is kind of interesting. Jacob Markstrom is hurt though. So we'll get to all that later on in the show, but a bit of potential news that we want to discuss today. Carter Hart, the former Philadelphia Flyers goalie who was on trial for an alleged sexual assault in June 2018, will reportedly sign in Vegas. Sportsnet insider Elliot Friedman said yesterday on the Fan 590 that the signing could very well happen as soon as Wednesday is when he said that. We have not seen an official announcement yet on Thursday, but things certainly seem to be trending in that direction. There's a lot of chatter from insiders about this. Our own Chris Johnston has been locked in on everything that's happening with the 5 Hockey Canada players, and it seems like Carter Hart signing in Vegas is just a matter of time. Some further necessary context here. The 5 players from the 2018 World Junior Championship team who were on trial for sexual assault, that's Carter Hart, Alex Formenton, Michael McLeod, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote, were all reinstated by the NHL after being acquitted of all sexual assault charges back in July. The NHL and NHLPA agreed that the 5 players would be eligible to sign with NHL teams starting on October 15th. That was Wednesday, and become eligible to play on December 1st. As we mentioned, Carter Hart appears to be the closest to signing a contract. The Carolina Hurricanes reportedly expressed interest in both Hart and Michael McLeod, but those deals have never really materialized. Michael McLeod signed a 3-year contract in the KHL just a couple days ago too. Sean, I'll bring this over to you before we bring in Jesse Granger. Do you just have a thought on all of this and maybe how we got here for Carter Hart?
I think Vegas makes sense for Carter Hart for a lot of different reasons. We knew what his preferences were coming into all this. We'd heard, whether it was from CJ or from other people, that he wanted to sign with an American team, wanted to sign with a playoff caliber contender. Well, that's what the Vegas Golden Knights are. We know that Vegas could use another solid option to pair with Adin Hill, and I'm sure we'll talk about that with Jesse in a couple minutes, but we saw Adin Hill have the best regular season of his career, really, but then hit the skids in the playoffs. There's issues about, questions about workload with him and whatever else. So you're looking for some other viable option to split time with him. Open question is whether Akira Schmid was the guy. He had played 4 or 5 NHL games last season, so that's not necessarily a player that you want to stake your postseason hopes on. Vegas has the money. We saw that open up ahead of training camp when we found out officially that Alex Pietrangelo was not going to play this season. So Vegas has another mechanism in place to add cap space that they might have otherwise lacked. And Vegas has the temperament. They have the history. We know that that's a pretty cutthroat, pretty ruthless organization in a lot of different ways. We know that they have no problem taking on players who've had some degree of controversy or misbehavior or malfeasance in their past. This is the team that drafted Trevor Connolly, who was the subject of some pretty heinous allegations as a draft eligible player. So it shouldn't surprise anybody. There were hockey reasons, I think, for Vegas to want to do this. And then whenever you look at the larger cultural roadblocks that would be up for a lot of other franchises, those aren't present with the Vegas Golden Knights. We know that this is a win now organization that, has no problem rolling the dice and making moves that a lot of other teams wouldn't be comfortable with. And this is strung out to the nth degree here, right? Because we're talking about a player that was on trial for sexual assault over the summer. But I think that this is of a type with the decisions that we've seen from Vegas in the past, especially when they need something from a hockey standpoint. And I think all those things came together to make Vegas, the ultimate landing spot here.
Right. Let's bring in Jesse Granger now, our Vegas Golden Knights writer and goalie expert, and we can get to a couple other news and notes around the league as it pertains to the crease. But let's just start in Vegas, Jesse, your boots on the ground. What do you kind of make of all this chatter that's linking Carter Hart to Vegas? It really does seem like it's just a matter of time. Just curious what everything's been like there. There was a lot of outrage in Carolina at the idea of the Kane signing Carter Hart or Michael McLeod that may or may not have actually had an impact in their decision to not sign these players. So what have things been like in Vegas for you, Jesse, with all this chatter flying around?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. First, I'd like to say very well put by Sean. I agree with pretty much all those points there. I will say that I think the Golden Knights
I get the Granger stamp of approval. That's all I'm ever looking for.
You nailed it. You hit all the points. Other than I will say the Golden Knights are higher on Akira Schmid than I think most people are. And specifically Sean Burke, the goalie coach in Vegas, has done a brilliant job here. He's got the best out of every goalie that's come through Vegas. It's hard to argue otherwise. And he likes a big blocking, angles cutting off goalie who gets his big frame in the way, and that's Akira Schmid. Like he fits exactly what Sean Burke likes in a goalie, and it's a very small sample size, but Sean Burke has even gotten the best out of Akira Schmid here in Vegas. We've only seen him a handful of times in the NHL, but he's got like a 960 save percentage in those opportunities. He had a rough year in the AHL last year, but I will say, for a goalie who relies on reads, that's Akira Schmid is he has super high hockey IQ. He's not the most athletic goalie. For a goalie like that who relies solely on reads and isn't the most athletic, the AHL can be a nightmare because it's tough to read because it's just so chaotic and people aren't scoring the way they intend to score. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass for a horrible year in the AHL. So I do have some hope that Akira Schmid can be the NHL backup that the Golden Knights want. Now, one thing you didn't mention about the Golden Knights that also fits into this Carter Hart thing perfectly is this is a team that loves taking on players that were once of a high pedigree, especially when they were being drafted, and haven't worked out in the NHL. And they take those players and they say, we will get them to their potential that we once thought that they had. Like Brett Howden, great example. They tried it with Alexander Holtz from New Jersey, 7th overall pick. It hasn't really worked for Holtz, but they've like Chandler Stevenson was a high scoring player in junior. He wasn't on the Capitals. The Golden Knights brought him over. He became a 20 goal scorer. William Karlsson was looked at as a skilled player coming into the NHL. He went to Anaheim and Columbus, and he wasn't a scorer. The Golden Knights brought him in. So my point is the Golden Knights love taking swings on players that were once thought of as high pedigree. And Carter Hart, for all the other stuff around Carter Hart, he certainly fits that. He was once seen as a franchise goalie. He was a high draft pick. He had one really good year in the NHL. The rest of them weren't as impressive. But to me, that's what the Golden Knights see in Carter Hart is a high potential player that you can have for essentially nothing. I would assume this contract's not going to be worth much. And they just want that lottery ticket. What if he does turn out to be what everyone in Philadelphia thought he was going to be before everything happened? So, and then, like you said, I think this team is less concerned about the optics of things than almost pretty much any other team in the NHL. And like you said, in Carolina, there was some uproar. I think there has been some in Vegas, not nearly as much. I will say I tweet about it, the news, every time it happens. Pretty much all the responses are they don't want anything to do with Carter Hart signing with the Golden Knights from the Vegas fans. but it doesn't seem like it's quite as loud. There was an online petition that someone started, and it got about, last time I checked, it was at like 1,700 signatures, which isn't exactly a massive backing. But yeah, I think it will ruffle some feathers for sure. It will upset some fans, but I don't think the noise has been loud enough. And I like we've said, the Golden Knights are all about winning, and if they think they can find a potential starting goalie for essentially nothing on free agency, they're willing to take that shot.
Right. Brett Howden, by the way, too, he did testify in that Hockey Canada trial. He was not accused of wrongdoing, but I've certainly seen some fans unhappy to potentially have two players who were in the room in London during that alleged incident. So I've seen that chatter. But as you mentioned, Jesse, I don't think the Golden Knights care. And they're obviously playing by the rules that have been set forth by the NHL. One question, too, to follow up on Carter Hart. What would be a reasonable expectation for you for Carter Hart if he does sign and if he does play in December? Because this is a player who has not played in a professional game since January 20th, 2024. Some of the other players who are on trial did play in the KHL. Hart opted not to join a team in Europe during all the pre-trial proceedings, which took almost a year, well over a year. It was a months-long trial itself, and the pre-trial was very lengthy. He was a legitimate starter before being granted that indefinite leave of absence. But that last pro game is pretty far in the rear view right now. He's still highly regarded enough for the Golden Knights to go and sign him. So what do we think that we could see from Carter Hart this season if he does sign, given all of this?
Yeah, it's such an unknown. It's going to be very interesting to see how he looks if and when he gets on the ice. And I would assume that they're probably going to get him some games in the AHL to start. I mentioned Akira Schmid struggled in the AHL. That's a bad team down there. The Henderson Silver Knights do not defend well. They give up an insane amount of chances. If you're not on your game, you can look bad quickly on that team. So if he does start in the AHL, it's the opposite of the Golden Knights, because the Golden Knights make the goalie's job a little bit easier than most NHL teams. So it will be tough for him. Like, it's not going to be an ease into things if they start him in the AHL, but it's going to be interesting. He's a goalie who, to me, when I watch Carter Hart play, I see someone with great eye-hand coordination is through the roof. He makes so many of those. Like, he's in the wrong position, but he just can get to the puck, and he's got a lot of athleticism. I talk to goalies all the time after they miss like 2 weeks of action, and they're like, yeah, it's just tough to get the timing down, and you gotta, it's like, okay, so if 2 weeks knocks your timing off as a goalie, I think it's pretty clear, like, goaltending, the time off hurts a goalie more than any other position, because everything is so timing based, and the difference between a millisecond off is a goal and a save. It's going to be fascinating to see if he can get to a level that he was, or even close to a level that he was, after 2 years without hockey, without seeing action. Like, I'm sure he's been on the ice with guys shooting on him. It's not like he hasn't seen a puck, but NHL speed, like, you hear guys talk about it all the time. Game speed is totally different. And 2 years away from it, I will be impressed if he's still anywhere near the level he was.
Jess, how much of this is about Adin Hill? Not just about the injury, which is something he's dealing with. Lower body, left the game. I guess we'll see what shakes out there. How much of this decision has to do with how the org views him overall, and also in the wake of what we saw from him last season? Because it's like we said up top, great regular season. He's in some regards the best we've seen him outside of that playoff run. But it looked like maybe he hit a little bit of a wall in the postseason from the outside. Is that consideration? Like, how much are they weighing the Adin Hill of it all whenever they're making this, seem to be making this decision?
Yeah, Adin Hill is a goalie you don't want to overplay, because of he's had a history of injuries. Last year, he finally got over that, and there are reasons to believe that could happen going forward. The injury a game ago was a freak accident. It wasn't a tear of a leg muscle or a strain because he was stretching too far or because he was playing too much. It was he got hit in the mask. His mask popped off.
Yeah,
there was another shot. There was another shot coming before the ref could blow the whistle. So he jumped to his feet like a stand-up goalie from the 70s because he didn't want to get hit in the face, and the puck hit him in a sensitive area. So Freak accident, but having said that, I don't know how much time he's going to miss. He could miss some serious time. So it is a freak injury that could keep him out for some time, but it's not a here we go, Adin Hill can't stay healthy again type of injury. It's a freak accident. So last year he changed his training in the offseason. He told me going into the season, I wrote a big story about how his goal was to play 50 games. He changed his training in order to help his body be more durable. And sure enough, he hit the 50 game mark for the first time. Yeah. Like you said, he wasn't as great in the playoffs. I thought as that series went on against Edmonton, he actually did find his game. And I mean, the last game they lost 1-0 in overtime. So if you hold the Oilers to 0 goals going into overtime in the playoff game, what more do you want from your goalie? So I will say the team believes in Adin Hill and they think he's the number one guy. He's the guy that can win them another Stanley Cup. But you do need a reliable backup because he can't play 60 games. He's not Andre Vasilevsky, Connor Hellebuck. You've got to have a strong tandem starter. And whether that's Akira Schmid, whether that's Carter Hart, whether that, this team, if it's not working with either of those two, they'll go trade for someone else. So I do think you need a strong rotational backup. You can't just have a traditional backup that's going to play 10, 15 games with Adin Hill. You do need a rotation guy. So yeah, I think the Adin Hill factor plays into wanting Carter Hart, but I also think that at the end of the day, Adin Hill's the guy in Vegas. They signed him to that contract. There's a lot of belief that he's going to be the guy to win him the cup if they get another one in this window.
Akira Schmid stopped all 19 shots he faced against Calgary on Tuesday. Could be a lot to ask of a young goalie who only played 5 NHL games for the Golden Knights last season. But that's something we'll wait and see. Still no real update on Adin Hill after that initial injury, Jesse. Let's move on to maybe some more general goalie questions here. Just a couple for you. A big injury in New Jersey. Jacob Markstrom's going to be out for a couple weeks. It's an undisclosed injury at this time. But how could this impact the New Jersey Devils and their crease in the early goings here? It just feels like this is a team that every year we're like, yeah, it's the Devils' year. And then there's some injury, whether it's now Jacob Markstrom or Jack Hughes or Nico Hischier, just feels like
it's why I've stopped picking them for stuff preseason. I'm like, someone's gonna get hurt. I don't know who. We'll see who it is, but it's just gonna happen.
It's brutal. And this year, it's at least in the early goings, it's Jacob Markstrom. What do we think? How does this impact the team, Jesse?
Yeah, the Devils are like the 49ers of the NHL. Just everyone and the entire team just massacre. No, it's. I'll say this: if it's only going to be 2 weeks, the way they said a couple weeks was the update from Sheldon Keefe. If it's only 2 weeks, it's totally fine.
15 weeks, though. I'm sorry.
It's true. This is hockey.
Jacob McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on.
What have I done? So this team is. I wrote about it yesterday when the injury was announced. I think the Devils are as equipped as any team in the NHL to deal with an injury to their starting goalie because they have one of the best backups in the NHL, Jake Allen. They prioritized extending him this offseason. He was the best goalie on the market after every goalie in the league signed an extension before free agency. The best goalie that hit the open market was Jake Allen. Some team could have tried to make him their starter, but the Devils offered him an insanely long contract and made sure they kept him as their backup. And for this exact reason, Jacob Markstrom is an older goalie, and he's the type of goalie who plays a chaotic game. He uses his athleticism. He leaves his structure all the time. He'll dive headfirst for a puck. He is a chaotic goalie. And when you get older, that kind of leads to you tearing things or you tweaking things. And I do think that to me, this injury, the concern is Jacob Markstrom at this age going to be able to be healthy and be at his best for the whole season for this team to be able to make a run? Because in the short term, I'm not concerned. Jake Allen was actually better statistically than Markstrom was last year. He's been better in the limited stuff we've seen this year. It's not going to hurt the Devils in the standings to be without Markstrom for a few weeks. I think Allen can more than shoulder that load. But if the Devils are going to do what they ultimately hope to do, it's going to be with Jacob Markstrom in net. So my question is this guy at this age going to be able to hold it together and be healthy for a long run, play a lot of games in the regular season, play a long playoff run? The more often we see him getting these injuries, the more I question if that's going to happen. To me, that's where I go.
It's also just brutal timing for the Devils too, because they were starting Jake Allen. He leaves the third period of a game with cramps. Jacob Markstrom comes in to relieve him, and that's when he gets hurt. That's the kind of stuff those are the kind of injuries that we've seen from New Jersey over the years where you're just like, there's a hex. My God.
Sounds like somebody paid an Etsy witch to put a hex on the New Jersey Devils.
Some kind of reference that I've seen pop up. I don't know specifically what for. All right, there is another goalie injury storyline that we've seen over the last couple of years. It's Thatcher Demko. Gets hurt a couple postseasons ago. Has a season from hell last season in Vancouver, like a lot of other people did, in fact. He's been good so far this season, Jesse. He's looked like the Thatcher Demko of old, and I think we've seen that manifest itself already. He's back in the good graces with Team USA. He gets invited to the preliminary Olympic camp after being initially left off the roster. What have you seen from him? What do you think his prospects are? I know I talked to a lot of folks over the summer who are pretty concerned about the injury history as it mounts for him, but also, man, we've seen him at his best, and I think he gave a nice little reminder to Team USA of what he looks like when he's at the top of his game.
Yeah, he's looked like the Thatcher Demko of old, a version that we thought, like many people thought, we may never see again after those injuries. And it's clear that he's at the top of his game. Now, how long can that last? That's the big question, but there's no question he deserves to be in consideration for this U.S. roster. The last time we saw him fully healthy for a season, he was the runner-up to Hellebuck for the Vezina. He is a huge goalie with ridiculous athleticism and the ability to make, his high danger saves are second to none. Like it's hard to find someone who can make those types of like grade A chance saves that Thatcher Demko can. And he's looked so good. His visual attachment to the puck is, to me, what always stands out. Like, how many times does a goalie lose a puck in chaos around him and it ends up in the back of his net, or it ends up with a dangerous chance that one of his defensemen has to block? Demko never loses the puck. Like, it is unbelievable how good his eyes are at tracking that puck through traffic, through blocks, through screens. And it's looked really good this season. The problem is, it's a good problem to have for America. There are just too many awesome goalies. There are just too many amazing American goalies. It is fantastic to say. And you look at it and it's like there are so many good ones. I would argue Thatcher Demko is not one of the top three goalies. And I just sang his praises about how amazing he is and how he's like the second best goalie in the world the last time we saw him a full season. But Connor Hellebuck is still awesome. Jake Ottinger is, to me, hitting his peak and is about to get to a level that we haven't seen from Jake Ottinger in Dallas. I think from what I've seen earlier this year, I think he's kind of been good behind a good team, but he doesn't take over games. He's gone to the conference finals 2 years in a row. But when you think of Ottinger, you don't think of a guy who has taken over playoff series. I think that's going to happen.
Except for the first round against the Calgary Flames.
Right. As a rookie, when he was super young. Yes. I think we're going to see a long
time ago now.
I think Ottinger is going to be spectacular this year. So you've got those two. Jeremy Swayman off to a phenomenal start in a bounce back spot. Boston's in town right now in Vegas. I just spoke with him yesterday. He's in a good headspace, and he won the gold medal for the U.S. in the World Championships, and he was spectacular in that. So you've got those three ahead of Thatcher Demko, and then you've also got Dustin Wolf, who is one of the best young goalies in the world. He's looked amazing again early this season for Calgary. There are just too many awesome American goalies to choose from. Yeah. Maybe we should just start one every period. Can we bring six of them and just have a different goalie in the net every period? Because there are so many good ones. They all deserve to play, but there's only one net. It's going to be a tough decision for the coaches in the Olympics.
All right.
I just love the periodic reminder that Dustin Wolf is American. I love it.
All right.
I love it.
That's enough.
Plays for Calgary, played whatever. He's ours. Sorry.
That's enough.
Like half the Canadian team's goalies are American. Demko's in Vancouver, Hellebuck's in Winnipeg, Carter Hart's in Calgary.
Joey Decord's a dually.
All right. Well, I want to hear from Arpon Basu, and I want to talk about Sam Montembeault. This has pissed me off. Welcome back to the Athletic Hockey Show. The Montreal Canadiens will try to improve to a 4-1 start to the NHL season on Thursday night against the Nashville Predators. Cole Caulfield off to a nice start. 3 goals so far. Some big names putting pen to paper in recent days. Lots to dig into as our friend Arpon Basu joins the show with some impeccable lighting, beautiful backdrop. You look great. Welcome to the show.
I'm stealing Marty St. Louis' press conference seat. This is I'm usually on the other side of these lights, but that's for you guys.
St. Louis, yeah,
that's it.
I've seen you on the other side of those lights, my boy. both suit you well.
TV lighting is a blessing and a curse, depends on the day. Depends what you're trying to hide. Okay, we wanted to start with the Lane Hutson extension, Arpon, because kind of fell through the cracks here on the podcast the last couple days. An 8 times $8.5 million deal. Just how team friendly is this is the big question I want to ask. And how have the Montreal Canadiens been able to build this culture with their young players who have all kind of left like a little something on the table?
I mean, I think it's considerably team friendly. I don't think it's quite as team friendly as people are painting it out to be, but it is team friendly for sure. The reality is Lane Hutson was not eligible for an offer sheet on July 1st as a guy who kind of only played 2 games when he did his sort of burned his first year coming out of college. Did not have arbitration rights for another 2 seasons after this one. They're only buying I believe 3 free agent UFA years out of the 8 years on this deal. So from that point of view, it's not Jackson Lacombe, right? Jackson Lacombe, they purchased way more UFA years. It's not even Luke Hughes in that respect. So yes, it's team friendly, but I think the parameters for Lane Hutson were probably a lot closer to what Dustin Wolf did, even though he's an older player. But that's how the Canadiens kind of looked at it. Like everyone was pointing at Luke Hughes. The Canadiens are like, well, who finished second in the Calder? It was, your American boy, Dustin Wolf, in Calgary.
That's
and
right.
so it was, I think those were kind of the two sides of this coin. And so it's not a shock to see that Lane Hutson fell somewhere in between those and closer to the Luke Hughes side. I mean, the one thing Lane Hutson got is he got the bonus structure that's not going to be allowed after whatever it is, September 26th or whenever the CBA kicks in. He's getting in the first 12 months of this deal, he's getting $23 million in his pocket. So that was a big factor here. I think the Canadiens initially tried to get him on a deal that had more money attached, but it had deferred money, which is now illegal or not permitted under the CBA. Getting this bonus structure, I think, was a pretty big win for Lane Hutson, and that the trade-off was a lower AV and the cap hit that the Canadiens get to benefit from for 8 years.
It was just a couple months ago that everybody was afraid over what the negotiations were going to look like, right? We see Lane Hutson's father going on podcasts, and it turned into a whole stinking thing. And now here we are. It's mid-October, and he's locked up, to a deal that makes a whole lot of sense for both sides.
To his credit, I think he was the driving force behind this getting done.
That's great.
Right? Like he didn't like how his season started. It was a distraction for him. He admitted as much. He wanted it behind him, and I think the Canadiens were kind of counting on that happening. To be honest, so I think both sides win. Honestly, like Lane Hutson did not take a haircut here. He signed a $70 million contract. He's 21 years old, and as I mentioned, in a span of 12 months, he's going to have $23 million coming to him. So no one should feel bad for Lane Hutson.
That's not bad.
He's going to be maybe 30. Like he's not even going to be 30 yet by the time that contract ends.
No, that's it. He will be 30 because it kicks in when he's 22.
Right.
And so he'll be 30 when it ends. Yeah, that's okay.
It's too much.
Usually. Yeah, it's all right. 22 plus 8 is 30.
Yes.
Is that true? Are we sure?
This is why we bring Arpon on.
Right.
2 other
if I'm
contracts.
your math expert, you're in big trouble. But
yeah. 2 other big contracts shelled out in Montreal, Arpon, 5-year extensions for both Jeff Gorton, the executive VP of hockey operations, and GM Kent Hughes. What do you make of these signings and kind of what this means for the Canadiens?
I mean, it's kind of the natural progression of things. Remember, Jeff Gorton had a pretty similar kind of 3-year run of a rebuild in New York and didn't get to see it through. Got fired before they reached the stage where he can kind of execute the next part of it. So this gives him that runway. Both him and Kent have 6 years to get this to the finish line. And, I think, as I argued in the piece I wrote, but I mean, I do think that the part that they're approaching is the harder part. It is. And what they've done so far is not easy, but it is easier to liquidate players, accumulate draft picks, develop prospects. That part the Canadiens, I think, have executed exceptionally well, but we've seen a lot of GMs have success with that. Marc Bergevin was great at that. It was the next part that he wasn't that good at, and that's the part they're at now. So we'll see. And the Lane Hutson contract, along with what Caden Gooley signed for, what Slavkovsky signed for, what Suzuki signed for, Caulfield, we'll see what Demidov does, but they basically have their core locked in they have 6 players in their core that are locked in for under $50 million a year. With Demidov, that'll probably get to the mid 50s or so. That's going to be half the cap in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty good position for them to be in. Now, how they spend that money and how they choose to fill holes on the team, that's the tricky part. And I think Jeff Gorton kind of admitted that yesterday when, he said, we're still going to have to be patient. That's going to be hard when the team's competitive and you want to take that next step. You might be eager to go get something that might not actually be the right fit or the right player. So we have to exhibit the patience that we've shown so far in this next phase, because just because a player becomes available doesn't mean he's the right fit for us. And we're going to have to be kind of judicious in how we spend that money and the players that we go after.
I think an important thing to remember when you're talking about the Canadians too is how much little wins on contracts accumulate, right? Like I think we look at this core and we see all the players that they have signed to long-term deals. I mean, you have Suzuki through 2030, Cole Caulfield through 31, Slavkovsky through 33. Blah. Like there's a long list of players that are locked up, right? So to some extent, they've made their bets on those guys like that. This is the core of the team in some respects. In different situations with different teams, those guys make up a larger chunk of the cap, right? So I think that's where it's impressive for them is that, yes, this is the tough part. Yes, adding the smarter, shorter term pieces around the core is easier said than done. But they're also in a better spot than a lot of teams are because even if you look at this season's cap figures, they're projected to have 25 million at the deadline, right? So they've done well. With the work that they've put in over the last couple of years to save $1 million here or there, you get Suzuki under 8, everything kind of plays off of that. And then before you know it, you have 5 million or 7 million more than you would otherwise and more than a lot of other teams in similar positions have had. So it's impressive.
Well, 5 or 7 million is a pretty good player, right?
Correct.
So that's it's a big difference. I should mention that all of this does kind of cascade out of Nick Suzuki's contract, which was signed by Marc Bergevin. I kind of knocked him earlier, but that was his one nice parting gift because Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton have really set up their entire cap structure based off that one contract. And even though Lane Hutson went above it, Suzuki signed that 4 years ago, and it's not like he went extraordinarily above it. Like he's only a million up on what Suzuki got. So that's one thing. But the other thing I guess I would warn is that we've seen this before, and it's ironic because, the Canadians, Mike Matheson's in the last year of his contract right now. It's a contract he signed when he was with the Florida Panthers. It's a contract he signed when Kent Hughes was his agent. That Florida Panthers team did the same thing, right? Remember the computer boys, whatever, when they went on the big analytics sort of, dove in on analytics and they signed all their young guys to long-term deals. It didn't work out because those guys didn't work out, and so it's like, you never know. Yeah. I think there's still question marks. Like Yuri Slavkovsky's locked in. He's in the first year of an 8-year deal. What is his ceiling? We don't know yet.
Right.
There's a lot of things that we don't know about these guys. And so there's still work to be done. The Canadians have to make sure that these guys are the guys they think they are. But we've seen this model before. It's not unprecedented and it works sometimes. And sometimes it doesn't. If the guys that you commit to don't deliver what you are hoping they deliver, then you're locked in a bad way, right? And so I think the next few years are going to be pretty critical. And this season, for a guy like Slavkovsky in particular, he kind of knows that it's time to sort of put up or shut up. He keeps talking about what he needs to do to become the player he hopes to be. He's decided this year, I'm not really going to talk about it anymore. I just have to go out and do it. And so until I do that, don't bother asking me about it because, the proof's in the pudding. And so I think they have a few guys like that. Like Gooley's on the verge of sort of taking another step, and he expects to. We'll see if he does. Frankly, his start to the season has been okay, not great. They have a lot of question marks like that, and they have a lot of years attached to the guys with those question marks. So this is not it looks encouraging, but it's not a done deal by any stretch.
Let's do one final question with you, Arpon, because we want to get you out of St. Louis chair.
I don't know. Marty might show up and be like, "Get the hell out of my, get the hell off my desk. Why are you sitting at my desk, you jerk?"
You can blame me, and he'll be like, "Who is that?"
Right.
I don't care.
I'm sure he watches the show all the time, guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I think I made eye contact with him a couple times during the playoffs. He'll remember me. He'll remember me.
We just saw this news and we talked to Jesse Granger about it in regards to Thatcher Demko, but Frank Saravalli reporting a couple new players added to the extended roster for Team USA for the 2026 Olympics. Lane Hutson is one of them. So just curious, do you think that's a deserved addition or an unfair snub to begin with? Just bringing it back to our initial conversation about his extension. Lane Hutson now added to the crew that USA Hockey is going to be looking at for Olympic consideration.
I mean,
think of that? I
found it pretty bizarre that he wasn't invited to the orientation camp. You know, it's an orientation camp. Like, what does it hurt to invite him? Like, he's for sure going to be in, like, if you know, he's for sure going to be in consideration. He has like almost no chance of making the team, right? Like, how many puck moving defensemen can you put on a single team? Quinn Hughes is going, obviously. You know, Adam Fox, we'll see if he goes, but like the US have puck movers. It's not really something that, and it's hard to build a defense. You know, if you have 6 defense and 2 of them are Quinn Hughes and Lane Hutson, you might have too much of the same thing, right? So his chances of going are pretty slim. Going is like an injury insurance in case Quinn Hughes gets hurt, which he tends to do. Might not be a bad idea.
Totally.
But yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, he won the Calder Trophy. He was a top 10 scorer among defensemen last year. He is only getting started. Honestly, his defensive shortcomings, I think, are slightly overblown. Is he a great defensive player? No, far from it, but he's not as bad as people make him out to be.
Nope.
So yeah, I don't know. I think it's normal. Considering if you looked at his resume and you left out his height and weight, it would be ludicrous that he'd not be on the list, right? The only reason they don't put him on there is because he's 5'9" and he's 175 soaking wet. So, yeah.
Brock Besser, the third player invited, by the way. I feel like I just ignored him for every time we brought up the Olympic list. Arpon, thanks so much for doing this. Do you have a prediction on where Sean and Dom are going to include the Montreal Canadiens on power rankings tonight? Is it going to be too high or too low? Are Canadiens fans going to be mad at them?
Well, frankly, like honestly, some of their underlying numbers are not glorious in this early stage. So I don't know if you guys are going to be swayed by that, but I would have them they'd be in the top half, I think, if I had to guess.
Okay. I'll counterbalance our own computer boy, right? Congratulations to all of us, by the way, for making it to the final season of Mike Matheson's contract. Good God, I didn't realize that. And
he's honestly been their best defenseman so far. Like, he's actually going to be an interesting problem for them to tackle because, their top 4 for the future is kind of set without him. So that's going to be a fascinating file that this newly re-signed management team has to tackle.
All right. Thanks so much, Arpon. This was great. Thanks for sitting in the hot seat.
Thanks, guys. Here you go. Cool. Straight out of Martin St. Louis press.
Oh, there he is. He's right behind you.
That's it.
Oh,
he dropped his phone.
That's a good way to end it. I don't know if there's a better promotion to check us out on YouTube than Arpon's exit from the show.
I hope that made it in.
He's showing, it should make it in. If not, I'm going to have words with whoever posts these on YouTube. It's cinema. He shows us his nice backdrop, drops his phone, and everything just faded to black. It was cinema.
The Montreal
I almost said Marty St. Louis. Marty Scorsese. Cinema by Arpon. It was great.
The Montreal media room is also like a black box theater too. Like, it's there's something about the setup there where it's very very, very dramatic under normal circumstances.
Sure,
so yeah,
Bell Center. It's
our guy.
I guess they were probably at Place Bell. No, pregame skate. They're probably at the Bell Center. Anyways, check us out on youtube.com/@theathletic-hockey-show. We're on the Discord too. Maybe someone will gift that.
Maybe.
I thought it was pretty good. Check us out. YouTube. It's great. Final segment here on the Athletic Hockey Show. It's just Hailey and Sean now after having Jesse and Arpon on. Just one quick little note we want to get to before wrapping up. Board of Governors meetings. One interesting nugget. out of there. The Olympic hockey rink is a little delayed in the construction in Milan. That's intended to be the main hockey site for the Olympics that are coming up. We're almost just over 100 days away from the Olympics, and the hockey rink is not ready. And speaking at the Board of Governors meeting, Gary Bettman, the commissioner, was reacting to a report that a test event that was scheduled for December at the arena is no longer going to be held there amid all these construction delays. Gary's a little bit concerned. So am I. I'm a little concerned too, especially considering the idea that like maybe the first event being held at this arena could be the opening game of the women's hockey tournament that I will be covering. And I will be angry on behalf of players if the ice in the rink is terrible. Like that would just be, that's just so unacceptable. There was a little update in LeBrun's report this morning though, that the IOC told The Athletic on Thursday the arena is scheduled for completion in mid-December and that a new event has now been scheduled for early January, which is roughly a month before Olympic competition is set to begin. So I guess we can pump the brakes on our concerns, but still, like, this has been an ongoing topic and the Associated Press has done a great job covering this too. Like, they're just consistently checking in to be like, is this arena done? Is everything okay?
For grading on the curve of Olympic facility drama, I feel like this one is pretty. It's pretty low on the list. Like these are standard
You
kind of
think
delays.
so?
Like I'll take this. Will I take this over the Rio Olympics when they were like bulldozing favelas to build,
That's fair.
stuff like that? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. This is
Yeah.
this is small potatoes. We're talking about, test events that get pushed into the future. We're not talking about people getting displaced or stuff like that. I think that's kind of
That's fair.
where I landed on the facility thing. But it's absolutely,
It's just like almost mock hockey outrage.
Yeah, right,
So,
exactly.
like, even for me, I think it would be unfair if the first game played there is a women's hockey Olympic game. Like Team USA is debuting on opening day. Like the Italian team is debuting on opening day. That would be a failure of epic proportions if the women are basically testing out the Olympic ice.
Mhm.
But it sounds like that is not going to be the case.
Good.
Because that would be horrendous.
All's well that ends well there. As long as it's done and as long as you can verify and guarantee that the ice is in working condition and that it's an appropriate rink for professional caliber players. Obviously, we're talking about the women's and men's tournament there. Like, all's well that ends well. But yeah, it is, man. That's always part of the rub with the Olympic conversation or the World Cup conversation. If we're talking about soccer, facilities are out. There's always drama. There's always BS that's involved. And if this is where it ends, like I think the players and in the media that cover it and whatever else, I think everyone can consider themselves pretty lucky.
Speaking of mock outrage and Olympic drama.
Yeah, right.
So NHL players at Hockey Canada's orientation were basically warned in a meeting about the conditions in the village, or just being warned that like, you're not going to be at the Ritz, you will be in the village. And I was reading this and almost just laughing of like, I guess it's just been that long since NHL players have been at the Olympics that they need to have a meeting where they are sat down and told, you're going to be taking bus rides. There's going to be traffic. You will be in the village. This won't be the Ritz. And maybe the food won't be great. Grab some bananas because you might be hungry on the bus. Like, I was just like, that is so crazy. This is a story from Chris Johnson that just came out on Wednesday. It's so funny. And I almost wanted to laugh at all of them. Like, wow, these poor posh babies have to stay in the village. And then you think of it like, I guess the meeting makes sense because basically Sidney Crosby's and like Marchand will probably be the only ones who've been to an Olympics.
Correct.
So it could be jarring for, Connor Bedard, who stays at every nice hotel in the NHL, to be like, why is my bed made of cardboard?
Do you think that when this conversation started at the orientation camp, and this is back in August, by the way, like this didn't just happen. This is
the story just dropped.
story just dropped. The orientation camp is a little bit in the rear view at this point. Do you think when those guys had that conversation that Sidney Crosby and Brad Marchand are kind of like looking at each other and thinking back to Sochi or whatever, when there's packs of dogs roaming around the Olympic Village, and there's
John Tavares is quoted. John Tavares was one of the other ones, and he was quoted in this story being like, where is it? He's like, there was military ships.
Yes, we're
because
losing.
There was, concerns of an attack.
This is what happens. This is what happens
the
when
Olympics
you go.
Are different beast.
This is what happens when you go as long as NHL players have gone without experiencing them, right? Like, it's easy to laugh about this, but it also might have been a necessary reminder for some of these guys to get, because they're 22 or 24 or 26 and weren't in the mix back in 2012 whenever or 2014 whenever this was last on the when this was last on the docket. Like, all those guys are aged out. All those players who were part of the Olympic experience before, the Jay Bomeisters of the world, they're long gone. So yeah, it was maybe a necessary bit of a reminder for these guys to get, but hopefully that's where it ends. Like, I don't want to hear complaints from 21-year-old Team Canada member X about how the beds weren't on par with the stuff that they get at the Ritz-Carlton or whatever.
What I do want to read, though, is like what players need to bring or buy to get by. Because, like, is Sidney Crosby really going to sleep on a cardboard box? Like, the beds are cardboard in the Olympic Village, are they not? There's like 3,000 athletes who stay there. I don't know if I botched that, but like, I want to know: Are you bringing a mattress pad? Are you buying a mattress on Italian sleep country?
What weird gear is Sid going to bring to the Olympic Village? That's what I want to know specifically. If he's got a comfort item. Does he
have a mattress pad that he bought in 2010 that he now sleeps on every night?
Yeah, it's his. It's actually a mattress pad he's been sleeping on since he was with Rimouski. 22
they didn't win
years ago.
The Royal Cup in Rimouski, so I don't think that would be a good luck mattress pad. I'm talking about the 2010. I don't know if you heard about this, but he did score a pretty big goal at the 2010 Olympics. So maybe he has like a pillow. Oh, I need to know. I need to know this. What did you sleep with in 2010? Do you still have it? Are you bringing it to Milan?
If there was something specific that he had in his bed in 2010, I can guarantee you it's going to make its way to Italy, because he is a freak when it comes to that stuff, as we know.
A body pillow, stuffed animal.
Sid might be a stuffed
Tempur-Pedic mattress pad. Ooh, I need to know.
Neck pillow. Is Sid a neck pillow guy on flights? It's time to figure it out.
The turtleneck pillow, the one that just like keeps your head upright and then you can lean to the side. I spent $80 on that thing when I flew to Czechia, and I looked insane. Slept great.
I'll just be sore. Thank you very much. I cannot willingly sign up for something like that.
I felt safe putting on the neck pillow and the eye mask because the mother and son beside me had like blankets, slippers. They had eye masks. They had neck pillows. They had real pillows. Like they were tucked in economy.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a safe space. I'm gearing up.
Act like you've been there before.
Headphones, neck pillow.
Oh man.
Shut it down for hours. It was great. But yeah, I guess back to the Olympic Village. The only other reason that it could maybe be a conversation is Summer Olympics. A lot of the high profile players will stay at a Lux hotel, like the members of Team USA's basketball team. Like LeBron James didn't sleep in the Village. They got a hotel in Paris. Novak Djokovic stays in a luxury hotel. Like, so the hockey players are being told, like, you need to stay.
I don't know if you're aware of this, Hailey, but basketball players tend to run a little bit larger than hockey players do. So I don't know.
Novak Djokovic isn't the size of LeBron James. It's about like, there's a difference here. Okay. But I'm sure. Yeah, there's actually no way. I don't think they make the cardboard beds that would fit. Like I've seen clips on, I love Olympic Village TikTok when you just see all the players being like,
yeah,
my body doesn't fit.
Joel Embiid sleeping in a cardboard bed. Something tells me that's not going to work out.
Yeah, but this is part of the agreement between the NHL and the NHLPA with the IOC, and it's my understanding that this is to make sure that like it is a fair and equitable competition. You can't have Team Canada and Team USA staying at a Lux hotel and other European federations without as much money, just kind of hanging out in the dorms, trying to make it as fair as possible. And, you know, it's funny, like, I would love to know if the women were in the room for this meeting or they were like, no, we just need to talk to the NHLers because, like, Mary-Philippe Poulin's been there, done that. Like, they've experienced this before. And also, I don't think they're staying at the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah, just a couple goofy little updates on the Olympics. I think by next week, almost 100 days until the Olympics, until the greatest rivalry on the planet is back, the Canada-USA women's hockey game. There will be one coming up in November, by the way, in Cleveland, November 6th.
High stakes at that one, I'm sure.
It is. These are for the bragging rights and to crack the Olympic roster. Rivalry series matters.
Let's just fast forward to the tournament. I'm excited for it. I want to see the games that count in a big way. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. That's it. We're done complaining. That was like our let's laugh at the Olympic Village for 8-minute segment. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Athletic Hockey Show. Thanks to Arpon and Jesse for joining us today. Sean, thanks for showing up to do your job this afternoon. Thanks as always to producer Jeff. Max and Laz have the next Athletic Hockey Show on Monday. Sean and I will be back next Thursday. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and ring the bell to stay informed on the latest in the world of hockey. And join our Discord community and stay tuned here for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.